Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to the 13 Reasons Why After Show. Today we are talking about episodes 6 and 7, tape 3, side B, tape 4, side A, and we have Steven Silver in the building to talk about it with us. Thank you so much.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Feels like a triumph every time I get that intro out.
Hey, that's
I think
fun.
the song feels like a triumph song.
Yes, we did. Hey guys, thank you guys so much for tuning back in. Y'all, we have Steven Silver who plays Marcus.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you.
Hey buddy, how's it going?
It's wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Where can everybody find you on social media?
On Instagram, you can find me at @SilverSteven.
Lovely.
And then that's it right now.
That's it right now.
Stay
Instagram
tuned,
is
it's coming.
everything.
Right.
Dig
right,
it.
right.
He's expanding, no worries.
Start there.
And lovely panel, everybody, where can they find you? Give some introductions. Chanel.
Hey guys, happy Friday. You can find me on social media, all at Chanel Hurlin.
Hey guys, I'm Chae Jones. You can find me at Real Chae Jones on Twitter and Instagram, and Love Shea Butter on Snapchat.
Ooh, that's
like
a new
that.
one. Love shape butter.
I love that.
I'm Becca Brown. You all can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Becca B Talks TV.
And I'm Hannah Prichard. You all can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at The Hotshot Dude. Yay!
Yay!
Let's get going, you guys. Marcus,
Episodes.
I heard you
Hello.
talking to them a little bit outside, but I didn't get to hear much about it, and our fans have not heard.
Okay.
Were you a fan of the book beforehand? How'd you get started in all of this?
I was not familiar with the book beforehand, but once the audition process started, I went out and got it, read through it, binged the book, if that makes sense. And started the audition process, and I really connected with the book and a lot of the themes in the book, so I was pretty excited.
Yeah. Did you originally go in for Marcus when you went in?
I did not.
Did you go in for Justin?
I did not.
For
Ooh,
Clay.
this is so fun.
Who did you go
Tell
for?
me, who else
you
do
go
you
in
think
for?
I would have
I
gone
feel
in
like
for?
you would have gone in for Clay.
I thought Zach.
I think everyone would have been
Oh,
for Clay.
Zach
Maybe
would
Zach.
be my guess.
Oh, Zach. I'm a Zach? Okay. No, I think everyone went in for Clay
Yeah.
originally.
Okay.
And I had a few auditions for Clay. And then they actually brought me in for someone else other than Marcus. So
Ooh,
who
who?
would you think?
I said,
Alex?
it can't
They
be
brought
Mr.
me in for
Porter.
Alex.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah, she's good.
I'm
We're
not
like
confident.
we got some like okay.
All
Yeah,
right.
they brought me in for Alex, read for Alex, and then Marcus.
Okay.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Well, they were determined to cast you then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, after a while, I was like, either they are literally like using me to like read all these parts and see like what I do with it, or I don't know what's going on. But yeah, it ended up working out.
How far into the audition process did you start reading the book?
After, well, I got usually with auditions you might get them like a day or two before, so I couldn't completely finish everything. But once I got the audition, I worked on that, and then after the first audition, I read the book. So. Yeah.
Did you know you were going in for a second audition, like once you started reading the book, or were you just
No,
curious?
I was just curious because I like to read anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm always at bookstores, always at libraries.
Respect.
So I wanted to read the book anyway because I hadn't read it and I wasn't familiar with it, and it was going to be a TV show, so I kind of just wanted to get through it. And I was excited about the people who were behind the project.
Yeah.
So I wanted to read it and see what they would do with it, you know?
Yeah.
Because they were really accomplished.
So how many times did you audition? Like in like
Total?
You would, like in a let's say a month span, or did it go past a month?
Woo! Let's see.
Math. Numbers.
I know that my initial audition, I think it was at the end of maybe March, the initial audition, and then the Marcus audition was in May, maybe.
Okay.
So throughout 2 months, I went in a few times. But there was one time where there was a long period of like
Waiting.
waiting.
Oh, that's the
There
worst.
was like you go in. I went in a few times for Clay, and then there was maybe like 3 weeks or maybe 3.5 weeks, almost a month after that when I went back in. So
Wow.
at that point, I was like, it's done, you know. So they
Dang.
brought me back in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never
So once you got Marcus, then you you started filming like right after that then, yeah?
Very soon after.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, very soon
That's
after.
awesome, man.
Yeah, it was exciting.
Okay, so I also have to ask you, did you do Dollar Valentines when you were in high school?
In high school, we didn't
that
have
even a
dollar
thing?
value.
Yeah, I was like, that's the thing.
Yeah, I mean,
That's like, that's not
Is that a thing for you? I
I
thought
did
that
that.
was made up.
I
didn't
thought
think
that was
you
made
did?
up.
You actually did dollar value?
Yes.
Oh,
Did you
wow.
not do that?
I know.
You went to the rich school.
Right.
Dang, y'all had money for dollar value?
I went to public school.
How was your match? Was your match accurate?
I think I actually did date one of the guys, but I think he was like third on my list.
Okay.
Yeah, we only
Okay.
had 3. We only got
Interesting.
I've
3
never
on
heard
them.
of it. I think the only thing we did in my high school for Valentine's Day is that we, for our club, we did, send out teddy bears, roses.
Oh, yeah,
we
yeah,
did
yeah.
that
Roses.
instead.
We did that also,
So
just
it was
to
like
make
more- it was
everybody
more
feel
of
in
that.
love.
Yeah.
You know what we had? We had not dollar valentines, but like a singing thing. So like you could send
like a singing
someone
telegram.
a
That's
telegram.
so cute. Awesome.
Yeah.
Did
I
you
think my
sing
school
anyone?
had that.
Oh my! Are you kidding? No. No way. I was way too self-conscious and in my own head to be singing to someone for Valentine's.
So you would say like you yourself in high school is totally different from Marcus.
Absolutely, 100%. I was much more shy, kind of. People probably would describe me as like the nice guy. I definitely was not. I was friends with the jocks, but it was because I played sports.
You were the
But
Zach.
I was kind of.
You were the Zach.
You're the same.
The nice.
I was kind of a Zach. Yeah, absolutely.
right.
I was nice, a little more quiet and laid back, but still popular. Maybe by default because I happen to be good at some sports.
Yeah.
You know. So.
Yeah, interesting. I'm not gonna lie to you, Marcus. Going back and watching the episodes this morning, and especially Marcus's tapes, Marcus is such an interesting character for me to get a read on.
Yeah.
Like in the way that I'm like he's on the board, the honor board, and he's like this good student, and he's not like fully a jock, but then he like runs with the jocks and like kind of is playing to them, but then
Right.
also is a nice guy and like.
Yeah.
He's a very all over the place kind of.
His layers.
He is very. He knows in order to have. There's power in numbers.
Exactly. It's so
he
clear he's
layers himself
calculated.
out, like all over the place.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's like somebody who's gonna like, I don't know, be on the Senate or something. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like he'll run
Very
for
political.
office one day.
He's
Yes.
political.
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
terrifying actually.
Terrifying, right?
It is. And watching that scene with them in the diner like makes my skin crawl.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah, mine too. It was
Tough to
it
film
was-
that one?
Yeah.
Yeah? How-
It was kind of you feel icky.
I was like
a little bit.
escalated.
Oh
No,
yeah.
I was just
just a
like,
bit.
okay, so he's making the guy think he's doing what he's doing. I would have kind of more. I don't know. Like she like that actually kind of action. I feel like every girl should have. If you don't want somebody to touch you, push them away. Actually make like at least
Right,
at
right.
least she did something instead of
Yeah.
just kind of just sitting there. Like I mean, after she did, but like she did something. She acted.
Absolutely.
I feel like the situation would have been completely different if all the other guys weren't in the restaurant.
In the
though.
restaurant.
Yeah.
Well, another thing about Marcus is that he's big on image.
Yeah.
And like a lot of politicians, he plays to what people want and he plays to his reputation. So having the guys there is very strategic. Like everything he does is he doesn't just accidentally have them there, you know.
Right.
He's not accidentally late to the diner.
No.
He's not accidentally anything, you know.
Which I was going to ask you, did you think, like, had you decided on your own when Marcus calls Hannah to ask her out, had you decided that Marcus had already, like, planned this with the guys, that it was a whole thing? Do you think she was actually number one on his list?
I do think that he planned that a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't know if she was number one on his list, but she was definitely on his list. But she was number one in terms of the girl to go after.
Yes.
And therefore, she was number one on his list.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
All right. I
Yeah.
agree with that.
Yeah. And that she was the new girl to the school. She's, the one all the guys are talking about getting. She's number one. Ugh, that's so gross.
Marcus.
No, it was so funny because after she pushed, she's like, I thought you were easy, and then like he's like, come on guys, we're leaving. But I'm like, that's not exactly demeaning to her by saying that to her actually. 'Cause by her
What
pushing
is
you
it?
away, like saying I thought you were easy. And
You
the fact
didn't
that
feel like that was demeaning?
No, but how she reacted,
how
that
she
she's
reacted.
actually not easy.
yeah.
So
Oh.
you're saying she's not easy.
Okay,
pretty much.
yeah. I get what you're saying. I follow now, yeah.
Yes, I
Absolutely.
didn't really think that was a demeaning thing for her to be like actually in a way, she should have felt proud a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
she's kind of proving the rumors about her wrong, even though you're gonna go back and the guys are gonna spin it in their own story because this is high school, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
You're saying it was a way for her to kind of
Stand up
shut
for
that
herself.
rumor down, in public, but of course these are high school kids, so they
Right.
don't
Yeah.
really. She wasn't thinking of it that way.
Exactly.
of
Rumor
course,
spread.
And I think that was like them trying to display how even having to battle that as a young girl is like difficult. You know what I mean? That she even has to think about those rumors and fear that people are seeing her that way when she knows she's not. And even when Zach like goes up and asks her out in the cafeteria,
Right.
she even calls herself easy when he says
Yeah.
it. Like, are you asking me because I'm easy?
Yeah.
Even though she knows she's not. And that was like kind of sad to watch that.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of psychological things at
Yeah.
play here. When Hannah starts out, she's very strong. She's very
Right.
outspoken, and confident. And as the show progresses, you notice that some of that confidence and that outspokenness gets knocked down.
Right.
So by the time we get to episode 6,
Yeah.
we're almost halfway through the season.
Yeah.
So she still has that strength enough to push him off of her.
Right.
But I think if that had been the first thing, she may not
Stronger.
have even waited at the diner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
She would have left, yeah.
Right.
I wouldn't even wait it. I don't care.
I was impressed.
Yeah.
Well, not impressed. I was surprised she actually did wait. I mean,
I
like,
was
after
too.
one milkshake, couple of hours, I'm like,
Agreed.
cheers, buddy.
Yeah.
Bye.
True statement.
I'm good.
But then at the same time, like now we like sit in public by ourselves with our phones and just sit there for hours.
That's
so I'm
true.
like,
Right.
no,
But we're not waiting for someone.
Not
Maybe
waiting.
there
But if
just
I'm waiting
because
for
we want to
somebody
be
after
there.
30, even after 30 minutes, I'm like, you didn't have a courtesy. I would have been deuces already. Or I would have like let you sit down and like you can pay for milkshakes and that would have
Exactly.
walked out.
But that's the thing. I think that's something because obviously we're out of school. These kids in the series are still so young,
Right.
and
Yeah.
something that we talk about every episode is how in school you think that's your world, that's the
Yeah.
end. This is what life is all about.
Yeah.
So she hasn't had enough life experience to know that listen, you don't
There's
wait
more.
longer than 20 minutes for someone, otherwise
Yeah.
you bounce.
You're wasting your
Right.
time.
Yeah, you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
but it was nice to see Zach like go and sit down with her. I thought that
It
was
was so sweet.
and just sit there in silence. I thought it was a very sweet little moment, and I actually felt super bad for him.
I do.
Me
That's
too.
what I was
That's
gonna
That's very
say.
interesting because when I was reading the scripts before
Yeah.
we started filming, I was like, man, people are gonna hate Zach.
Really?
Well, yeah. I mean, like he walked in with me.
Yeah.
it's
Okay,
true.
that's
and then,
true.
And then after that happens, he slyly comes back around to sit with her, and it's kind of like,
But he tries to make her feel better, and like that's
Yep.
kind of the distinction. Whereas in Zach's mind, like he is like the innocent, gullible child, one in the jock,
Yeah.
realm.
Right.
absolutely.
So that kind of makes sense for his character because he does feel bad. Like he didn't even know what DTF stood for at that point.
And I love that the response was spell it out, and his was it's already letters.
Oh man, he's so
great.
funny. Like he has the best like little zingers like that throughout the
I
show.
thought it was
so-
really
It's
good.
really awesome.
Yeah.
But the whole story with
He's a
Zach
jock.
in episode 7, I feel bad for him the whole time.
Me
I
too.
did too, actually.
And the reason I think his intention the whole time really was good. He
good.
wasn't going to her because she was easy.
Right.
Or even though he says the wrong things, like, you've got a great ass, but you're so much more than that. He says the wrong things, but he's still a kid. And I feel like his intention was not like the rest.
Right.
And because she was already so bruised and feeling vulnerable, she takes it in the wrong way, which makes him out to be one of the guys on the tapes.
Right.
I feel
Yeah.
like his mouth moves before he's like all the way
Yeah,
done
he doesn't
thinking.
sit up.
I
Yeah.
would totally agree.
I think
Even
his
though what he said
character-
was a compliment. Like
Yeah.
if you're already like you said, bruised and battered, like you're gonna spin that in your head, like
Yeah, she wasn't ready for anyone actually to be nice to her. She's
unless you're
That's
Clay,
true.
obviously. I feel like Clay is like the only one like she'll still always come back to and just
Right.
like she cares about his opinion. Like he's the only one that can actually like penetrate.
Yeah. But it was tough watching her also in this episode because obviously we want to root for Hannah and we want to understand Hannah the entire time and what she's going through and what led her to do all of these things. But I feel like these 2 episodes, we kind of see her be a bully too. Like,
yeah, I
like-
agree with that.
and the characters, like Zach doesn't know everything that she's gone through, so he doesn't know the reason why she reacts the way that she does.
Yeah.
And ultimately, she embarrasses him in front of the entire school.
Yeah.
Which isn't any better than what all of these people have done to her,
Yeah.
Which I think
And
is very interesting.
That you hit on like one of the motifs of the book is
Yeah.
that hurt people hurt people.
It's
Yeah.
so true.
And because we have seen her journey through this, we definitely empathize with her a lot, you know. But if you were to take a snapshot of that scene in the cafeteria where
you'd be like, what?
Zach approaches her, you would feel like she was the bully if you didn't know the history behind it, you know. So that's another motif, is that you know, if you get a snapshot of something, you think you have the who's right and who's wrong.
Exactly.
But there's so much more going on.
Well, that's the thing. The 3 sides to every story. Yours, mine, and the truth. So.
Right. And which is something that we've talked about every episode in this, that it's really cool with the show, the way that they have expanded all of the characters' backgrounds. And we can, like, see the way that they're all being affected from these tapes. And, like, so we, because in the book, you didn't really get an opportunity to feel for those characters and see... Right. Honestly, the repercussions of sending out those tapes, as much as they were so honest and heartbreaking for Hannah, watching all of their reactions and, like, self-hurt. Like, look at Alex. He's absolutely lost himself.
Him and Jessica's characters are the most, like, affected by it. And it's really interesting, like, where Alex is, he, like, is getting more aggressive, but Jessica's, like, she's going more inwards and getting drunk.
Right.
And it's just super sad to see, like, a decline.
Right.
Well... Clay and Hannah's mom I would put on the list too. Definitely. That list. Most affected.
Yeah. But like in Clay's mom's case, like it's just...
No, not Clay's mom. Hannah's mom.
Oh, you say, okay, because you lost me for 2 seconds. But
I lost there for a second as well.
But Hannah's mom, like, she's... Like, it was super sad. She just, like, put the flower vase down, just, like, let the water run. I was just super, like, I felt for her.
Yeah, that scene got me.
They're tough in general to watch their little moments, but it's so... I love their relationship, though, because most relationships get torn apart by, like, losing a child or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, like, watching them still choose to love each other, like, through it all. And it's beautiful, and I love that they show that ups and downs of their loss, which is really cool.
Can we talk about Sherry and Clay for a second? Because, like...
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that.
Can I just say something really quickly before we do that? Because I think that's a big one. I just want to know, did we ever actually find out why Marcus lies about not listening to the tapes?
Well... Exactly.
I
wanted to ask
because we were talking about the tapes now. So
guilty.
Well,
do you know why?
There's 2 things at play here. I mean, one thing is that Marcus is sent in as the wolf in sheep's clothing to Clay.
Or an El Nino clothing.
Right. Wolf in El Nino clothing. And so he is essentially playing towards an innocence, of having an innocence, of having... not a lot of information, and like, hey, we can get through this together. You know, I don't know what I'm doing. You don't know what you're doing. Why don't we get through this together? You know, and so that's one thing at play. And then I think the other thing at play is that Marcus is selfish.
Yeah.
And he has
Sorry,
to protect
I didn't mean
himself.
to agree with you. I'm like, yep, Marcus is.
No, it's all right. It's all right. You know, when I'm walking down the street, people are like, you're selfish.
The people in the chat are just like, Marcus seems like a
Marcus,
I saw that.
Marcus is not liked because he is so selfish. And he wants to act like he doesn't know that the tapes exist, because if, you know, he doesn't know what he did, you know, he feels like maybe that excuses him from guilt. You know?
Yeah.
If he doesn't know the tapes exist, then he's not guilty. They don't exist.
Right.
He does that with his emotions. He does that with everything. Is that, you know, if I act like it's not there, then it's not there.
It's not there.
Yeah. Actually, I wrote down like the scene between you and Clay when you're like, our lives can be ruined by this, and Clay's like, seems like the lives are already ruined.
Yeah.
Like that was so just a
that
powerful
was deep.
scene.
Yeah.
In itself.
Yeah, and we filmed that right after we did the honor boards, the actual honor board scene, so it was filmed in sequence.
Which
a lot of lives were ruined, and you know, you don't get to see these other characters quite as much. But in my backstory, what I did for my character is that Marcus probably goes home and cries most nights.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, I can
Absolutely.
believe that.
And he has to put in, like, he's used to putting on a mask and a reputation, so he comes to school. It's like, hey, it's all good. Vote for me, Marcus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But at nighttime,
It's hard.
Marcus is the character, like, he's hurting himself. He's the one that's
hurt people.
Kind of like
I
feel like he's trying to forget the past ever happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when he, like, first comes to Clay about the tapes and tells him he didn't listen to them, that's also an opportunity, because he knows Clay's still at the beginning of them, to be like, hey, man, I didn't listen to them, so, like, don't listen to him. You know what I mean? It makes it seem like it's not a big deal. If we don't deal with it, if we don't like listen to him and don't accept it, and we only focus on ourselves, then it doesn't matter. So just don't even listen to him.
And also, he wants to dismiss the tapes as being inaccurate or a
Right.
lie. So in order to sell that, you know, he's telling Clay like, man, like, come on, nothing's on those tapes are true. Why would you listen to them? Like, it's garbage. You know, it's not worth the listen.
I found interesting about Marcus, like even just watching, is that he always like he's like Hannah is the one that's always in the wrong. Like Marcus is never in the wrong for what happened.
Wrong. Absolutely.
And just that mentality, just like dude.
Yeah. And as and playing Marcus, Steven knew that he was slimy, you know, and I knew that he was wrong, you know. But as Marcus, I couldn't think that, you know, like I definitely had to be
like I'm right.
Like I'm right. Like I didn't really do anything wrong to her that was
She
that
didn't want
bad,
it.
you know. So I had to trick myself into that.
But also at some point, sorry Becca, that you know at the in episode 7 when Zach comes and shows Clay the letter, there is a big part of me that does wonder how accurate the tapes really are, because she said, you know, he threw the letter away, but then Zach comes and
letter.
Shows Clay the letter.
Yes.
So you're saying Marcus is saying, you know, the tapes are a lie, I've got to believe my truth. We're only hearing one side. We're only hearing one story.
In Hannah's mind.
And like I said, you get a smaller thing to that's what we were talking about with Zach and Hannah in the cafeteria. When you get a snapshot of something, you think you have the whole story.
Yeah.
And granted, I think that I personally, as a fan, think that a lot of what Hannah is saying is true.
Right.
However, there's definitely some hints at it not being the full story.
Right. And I think,
Sorry.
go ahead, Becca. I know you've been trying to talk for a second.
No, go.
Well, I was going to say, and also to Hannah, it is the truth. You know what I mean? It's the way that she perceived it. So it may not be accurate and factual. Maybe he didn't throw away that letter or threw it on the ground, but maybe he threw away something or dropped something,
bunny,
you know?
One of the bunny things that he crumbled up, like, because at that point it didn't matter. So like, that's what she saw.
Right.
Like, it wasn't the letter, but it was...
And when you're, like, hurt, you think that everything that everybody does is still being hurtful, even if it's not, you know, like even what Zach was doing.
Well, if you're in a position like Hannah where you've had all these people come at you in a disingenuous way and kind of try to take advantage of you, you know, if someone says hi, you're going to be like, what?
Yeah.
You know, you're like on edge,
time.
like, oh, don't say hi to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I could definitely see how it might, you know, some things that people did, she may misconstrue. Although I don't want to mislead people and make it seem like she wasn't being honest.
Exactly.
Because like you said, this is her truth, and as far as we know as the audience, it is the truth.
Yeah.
And so right now, that's what the truth is.
And that's what Sarah in the chat just said, that you have to realize Hannah will obviously only say her truth, not to discount it. Everyone's truths need to be taken into account, which the show does well.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Lovely, Sarah. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
But that also kind of goes into everything that's going on with Jess, because I think that Jess's biggest struggle right now is she doesn't. I know that we, for the sake of people who are watching it along with, she doesn't know her truth yet. But I think it's very interesting watching the battle she's going through, because it seems like she's dealing with the battle of whatever's on the tapes is true or not.
Her arc may be one of my favorites.
Agreed.
Like, oh man, she is so good. And you know, Alicia is my friend, and I just love Alicia. And you all have met her, so you know,
a delight.
she's so great. So
And
it
hilarious.
it was really hard to watch the show. And I know you have not finished.
I have not.
So I won't give too much away, but watching Alicia play Jessica, it was definitely hard, because you know, these people have come to be my real friends.
Right.
I actually care about these people, so to see their faces and them go through this stuff is really what kind of it was hard to watch. I'm getting a little.
I know. I wish to see it have her back when we do get to her arc, because the scenes, I would just like to know what it was like to do those. It's crazy to me.
The scene when her dad comes in the room got me.
I was just like, Cosby Show.
It got me so
Yeah,
mad.
it was.
I was just like, that's all I was seeing.
The first time I saw him on set, I literally kind of freaked out a little bit.
Yeah.
The Cosby's, you know?
Oh, that's so great.
I just thought that was awesome.
No, I just liked the whole aspect of like the lamp in that scene, like her turning on the lamp after her dad left the room. That got me.
Why am I not like remembering what that is?
Oh, because you know he like
was
he
sitting in
shuts off
bed.
her own light and then she turns
drinks.
off her lamp next to her bed
Okay.
Yeah.
and drinks some more.
Yes.
And you see like her interactions with Justin, you know, throughout episode 6, they kind of are hitting on relationships because it's Justin,
Valentine's.
Jessica, Marcus, Hannah, Sherry, Clay.
Which one?
So and interracial relationships.
Yes, right.
So they're tapping on that. And the thing that I think they're tapping on with all of that is miscommunication.
Yeah.
Because in all 3 of those, there's a bit. Each person misses what's going on with the other person. You know what I mean? So, you know, with Justin and Jessica, he's in a lot of pain.
Oh yeah.
And she hears what's coming out of his mouth, but I don't know that she really sees how much stress and turmoil he has inside. And the same with him with her. You know, he hears her saying, you know, I want to hook up, I want to have sex,
Right.
but if he really were to look at her to see what's going on, that's not really what she's communicating.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And with Marcus and Hannah, you know, Marcus, based off the information he's gotten, he honestly thinks that she's the type of girl who would be down to hook up. And I don't know if when you all were in school, but when I was in school, unfortunately, there were rumors about girls who were targeted and bullied in this way, to where like even if they didn't do anything, even if I had never heard one thing about what they had done sexually, so many people were targeting them.
Yeah, there was
so
just
many
like an
people
assumption.
were calling them, you know, all kinds of names, you know, as though we knew for a fact they had done these things,
Right.
And people would roll with it, you know, like other girls wouldn't want to hang out with that girl because of that, and guys would disrespect that girl because of that, even though they had no basis in truth for that. So Marcus has a miscommunication there, and the other thing about Marcus with this whole thing is that a lot of young guys, if you aren't in a household where your mom or your dad sits down and talks to you about proper ways to be intimate or
Right.
proper ways to have sexual contact, a lot of guys are just in open water. And this happens a lot in college as well, especially when alcohol gets involved, where just saying yes, like what is accepting a sexual advance, you know?
Right.
And I don't think that Marcus has I don't think that he is bold enough and vulnerable enough to go to her and say, hey, I really like you. Do you like me? You know, that's
Right.
that's really vulnerable to just say, do you like me? Is it okay if for us to advance, you know, I want to be physical with you. Is that okay for you? You know, because in his mind and in a lot of young, fratty, almost American guy culture,
It's true.
that's whack. You just go for it, you know, and nobody wants to have that conversation
Right.
of like what is okay, what's not okay. You know, you just go for it, and that's not the way to do it. So yeah.
And I like how you brought up that this stuff like does happen in high schools, because I've been talking to another host here and he just finished watching the show. He was like, does this actually happen in high school? Because I don't remember it happening. And I'm like, yeah, this kind of stuff happens 100%.
I as soon as I read the book, I thought of one moment in my middle school. But I thought of one moment that has stuck with me my whole life, in a relationship between a boy and girl went sour, I guess, and the boy took pictures of her that were sexually compromising and put them all over Facebook, MySpace, everything. And that girl really went through a lot for that. And I'm sure she still thinks about it, but I definitely, that has stuck with me all these years later.
Goodness.
You know what I mean? So this happens.
It's true.
It's terrible.
And saying how it sticks with you, it shows the like how strong this whole series is and everything, because these little moments when we are young, even though it seems so big then, and we keep talking about how it's so huge then because it's their whole world, but like it actually does stick with you forever and like molds a lot.
Do you all have
of your
memories
life.
of stuff
yeah.
from school
Totally.
that
Yeah.
that happened so long and it was one little thing and she probably doesn't know that I remember that happened to her,
Right.
but I definitely remember it.
Yeah.
And when you still think about those individuals, you think about those stories and those rumors, even looking back on them. You know what I mean? Like, and the way that they were seen in high school, which is so crazy. But that's why so many adults also relate to this story.
Right.
Because they still remember those exact feelings and things that they hold inside, you know, from that time.
Yeah.
All right, we should talk about some other people.
Sherry.
before
I
we-
was going to say Sherry and Clay. You've been.
Yes, I know
I'm
you're
excited
Also,
because
Sky
shout
and
out to
Clay,
HBO.
only because like Sky has a crush on Clay and I love it.
I know.
I love
we
that.
saw a little bit of jealousy in the
Right?
cafe. Yeah, we did.
She was hella jealous and I loved it.
I want to read what James Brown just said. 7 was by far one of his favorite episodes because Clay was being emotional, which was so powering, and he
Felt as if a person
felt
would be
like he had guilt. So
like the point of disillusioning Hannah.
yeah.
You're right.
I was gonna say, I get why you had a hard time reading that.
Yeah.
There was a couple things missing there, but
Oh, okay.
I was like,
I was just,
I was
like-
gonna try to help you, but I was like, I can't
fiddling,
decipher
I was
it.
fitting in my mind,
But
like
yes,
what needs
buddy.
to be said in that way. So just like, oh, let me help her out. Like,
No, I
Yes.
like it though. I get it. In my
But
mind,
yeah,
I get
Sherry
it.
and Clay.
I really like Sherry.
I do too.
In the beginning of the series, when we were kind of like, what are her intentions? When she went up and grabbed Clay's arm, like, how are you, Clay? We were like, girl, what are your intentions here? But throughout this episode, and especially the moment when she's at Clay's house and you see how vulnerable she is and how she breaks down, your immediate reaction is like, whoa, she did something bad, which we'll find out later on. But she's also so innocent in how she wants him to see the real her, and how that small moment kind of has now given her this rumor that everyone's believing how she is, but that's not her true self. And I don't know, I think she's so lovely and she's so sweet and she's just so caring. I really liked her character.
I do too. I'm with her. I was just like, she actually admitted, like she even broke down. Like she didn't have to say anything. She could have just been like, okay, you're thinking of Hannah. Let's move on to something else. But she actually allowed herself to confess basically to Clay. And even though he's having his own hard time, so he's gonna, you're only with me because you want me not to see your tape. As long as you're being nice to me.
Just
Going off of what Chanel said, when I was like watching her storyline start to be developed, I was like, she could have easily been in Hannah's position the whole time.
Yeah, all of them actually.
All of these
All of
girls
them.
could, yeah.
Yeah.
I was a
Even
lot
the guys.
You don't like her, Hannah?
Well, I don't not like her. I think she's very, very sweet. But I was a lot more hard on her with the way that she approached things with Clay, simply because she knows Clay has not gotten to his tape yet, nor her tape. And at that point, she doesn't know that Clay knows she's on the tape. So I almost felt like she was like, I thought she took advantage of him a little bit in that capacity, knowing that he was listening to them and like hiding the fact beforehand that she was on the tapes, but knowing that Hannah had feelings for him and what happened between him and Hannah. I felt a little bit like she was taking advantage of.
Didn't she? I don't think she knew that he hadn't got to her part though.
Well, when they first like meet up, she plays it like she's not on the tape. So when he asks about the Valentines and everything,
okay,
she's
yeah.
like, "Oh no, I don't."
Oh, I
you know what I
see
mean?
what you're saying. Yeah. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
She had a little bit of something she was hiding.
I'm kind of split
Yeah, you
down the
split.
middle one night. Yeah.
But I think
agree
that
with
she
both
was,
sides.
Yeah, but I think she was very, very sweet to Hannah. I think as far as that storyline goes, and we'll get to what happened with her.
Yeah.
But thus far, like I think her intentions towards Hannah and everybody else has only been kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
What
I
did you
that,
think about it?
Well, I think that with Sherry, she is reacting out of fear,
Yeah.
which all of the characters are acting out of pain and fear. That's what's driving a lot of them.
Yeah.
But with her, the thing that makes her special is you kind of her fear is on the surface. So she's bubbling, you know what I mean? And so when she finally has that explosion where she tells Clay, like, you know, I did something bad and, you know, I don't want you to think differently of me, you know what I mean? She's finally revealing her truth, but she's definitely dealing with some fear. And her reason for being on the tape, oh wait.
She doesn't know
Yeah.
yet.
I don't know yet.
Her reason for being on the tape, man, man, I want to say something. I don't know if
Dun,
it'll
dun,
give too much away,
dun.
so I won't say anything. But she's different a little bit.
She is.
Yeah.
She is.
I think what's interesting about like as we like most of the people who are on the tape kind of in a way deserved it. I think Zach was. I feel like the only one I feel like as of now because I'm at Zach's tape is like you kind of didn't deserve it.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy. And
I agree.
Some of them later on really, really do. But
Oh, yeah.
I really felt that as the tapes developed, for the most part, they seemed less guilty or harmful or really rude, like mean things, malicious things that they did. It started to seem like, you know, it was more circumstantial. Thank you guys. Towards the end, because she has developed more pain, so she's more susceptible to everything that is going on and all of her feelings, which I thought was interesting as the tapes develop.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know,
seems that way.
we'd like to say that some people's reasons for being on the tape are bigger or smaller than others,
Right.
but when in actuality, you know, I mean, Bryce is another story.
Yes.
However, I mean, even Marcus is another story. However, my point is that, you know, you never know where someone is at in their life.
Right.
So, you know, Zach takes compliments that she, at that point in her life, really needed. You know? And so, had he done that, had that been the first thing that happened to her, you know,
Right.
you have to, on the timeline where these tapes fall is very important because had that been the first thing that happened to her, she might be able to brush it off.
That's true.
But if that had been a later tape, if that had been number 12 or 13, then even that little thing would have been too far. You know, what I
Would
mean,
have pushed
Yeah.
over the
so
edge.
it's like, is it that small to do that? Is that a small thing, or
No,
Oh,
you know?
relative.
So
It's
it's
a
like
big
that's
thing.
why one of the most important things that I liked about the show and what it says and speaks to is that you're gonna affect people in this world. A lot of people try to say, if I mind my business, if I just live in my world, then I don't have to worry about other people. Just worry about me. But no matter what you do when you wake up, you will affect someone. And it's either going to be bad or good. So try to make it good, you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's inevitable.
Yeah.
Interacting with people throughout the day.
Absolutely.
Small things add up.
Yeah, Hannah says, you know, you never.
Oh, I thought you meant me. I was like, what did I say?
Hannah, what'd you say?
No one knows what's really going on in someone else's life, and you never know how what you do will affect someone.
Yeah.
And I think that's true. Just like what you said, like it's such a true statement, and we don't realize it in high school. I mean, some people do, because I feel like everybody in high school develops differently too. Especially, some people are more old soul, so they can see things in a more adult way than most people.
Right.
And versus, you know, kids like Zach, who's kind of staying with the status quo. But what's
Speaking of home life, I'm sorry. I love Zach's mom, but keep going.
Yes.
she was on fire.
Oh my gosh.
But what I love about the show, seriously, is that their way of doing high school, that perception, is such a big deal, and I think it's awesome that it's really putting a stamp on what you perceive and what's actually true in high school. And like I think that's an amazing like subplot
Right.
amongst everything.
Yes. Before we get close to start wrapping up and asking you some other questions and things, I want to talk about Sky and Clay, and I also want to talk about Tony really quickly.
Love Sky.
Yes, Tony though.
I love Sky too.
I love Sky
I
too.
really, really do. I wasn't sure how I was going to like her, like when we first introduced her. Like I loved her in the book. She had a very small part though in the book.
Right.
Yeah.
But I wasn't really sure. But the more and more we get to know her, like I love just her attitude in general and her perspective on things. Actually, even though it seems a little like warped, I like it.
Yeah.
I think, also speaking of people who couldn't be Hannah, I think Clay is also realizing that she could be Hannah.
Right.
Starting to realize.
Yeah.
And there are things later on in the show I think that develop and show that parallel or juxtaposition, I guess.
But you see it right now.
Yeah, but
The thing I really liked about Sky's character is that Sky's character, to me, in my personal opinion, seems to be advanced in the way that she's not caught up with peer pressure
absolutely.
or the way people perceive her.
Yeah.
You know, she's not afraid of saying what's honest or what really is the truth. And oftentimes in school environments, you know, the kids who are much more outspoken about the truth or are not afraid to disagree or go against the grain are the kids who are oftentimes an outcast. Because school can sometimes feel like playing a game, you know? It can sometimes feel like playing politics a little bit. Life can.
Absolutely.
I think Sky, like I've mentioned Hannah was, is mentally more mature than most of the people at this high school.
Or just aware of everything that's happening. And I actually like, which maybe I shouldn't, but I actually like that she tells Clay when he's keying the car to stay angry and that she likes that side of him. Because I think that she says it in a sense to recognize everything that's happening, and you should be mad about it, that people like talk about each other that way. And I like that. I like that Sky, even though she seems aggressive and a little bit like supportive of doing things a little bit wrong, the things that she supports in doing wrong are not things that actually hurt people emotionally. Yeah. It's just kind of recognizing what we've already warped the truth to be, if that makes any sense. Does that make sense? Did I word that?
Yeah, no, you did.
A little crazy?
Cool. I just love that scene between her. I actually agree. I love the whole stay angry. Like some, you know, when especially when you're going through grief, people like you need to get through anger to get to this, that, and the other. But I'm like, sometimes you just need to stay angry. Yeah. And it's not a bad place. It's not a wrong place to be. It's just something that needs to happen. And the fact that he was like, I need to understand why we aren't friends anymore. And for like in Clay's mind, he really truly wants to know because he actually does like Sky. Mm-hmm.
And also, sorry, I thought you were done. No, I thought you were done.
No, I was almost done. No, we're good. I was just gonna say, I actually like the fact that she's like, you don't know, you're kind of gonna have to figure it out for yourself. Yeah. Because we can see as the audience, I like you. Mm-hmm. He can't see it because he's Clay. Yeah.
Clay couldn't see that Hannah did. He missed so many cues.
He missed so many. It was just like...
So many. Oh, yeah. No, that is a frustration. That's what I movie. Like, dude, just wake up. But I just want to say with the whole stay angry thing, I think saying that to a boy specifically and Clay in the situation, how guys are growing up to be like, you got to be strong. Don't cry. Like, don't feel that emotion because that's too girly or whatever. So by her saying stay angry, that's like saying it's okay. Like, you're feeling something, feel it fully so you can move on.
I'm so glad you talked to that because that is something that I love to talk about because I grew up in sports culture. I grew up in a place where gender norms were expected. You know, I grew up in the South, and it's very true that guys have a specific way that they need to talk, move, act, and be, which is not always helpful for expression or emoting. And Clay is very vulnerable already, so he's okay with emoting some of the more sensitive qualities, which if you watch the show again, like it's a show where if you watch it multiple times, you catch things.
Get more.
Remember, he had a reputation of being gay.
Yeah.
And it's like, why did he get that reputation? And I think it might be because he is more sensitive and he is more vulnerable. And because the guy at school got that reputation of being gay for being more sensitive and vulnerable, it would make somebody like Marcus or the jocks or Justin be over masculine and not vulnerable because they see what happens to the guys who are. Yeah. So that's kind of I want to speak to one more thing with Sky. Yeah. Sky, as great as she is, she did kind of she got a little mean to Clay in this episode when she saw him with Sherry because she was jealous. And you know, if Clay were a little more vulnerable, he could say that she mistreated him, and that's that second, you know. So
right, and even, I agree with you because I thought that in that scene because I thought everything that she was saying in that scene was actually really funny, and then I was like, Hannah, don't think that's funny because she's actually being mean too. Like making fun of the sprinkles and like Abercrombie thing. I was like, right, girl, right.
She's pissed. Her dude was stolen. Her guy was taken
twice. Like at that point, she was just like twice. Like I've kind of been thwarted. And
had to check myself watching it.
Okay, but that final scene gives me life.
Which one?
Final scene.
His Clay's like not hallucinating, just actually saying what is like actually in his mind. I was like, thank God. Like
on the tour.
I was just like, that was amazing.
Oh my God, I was so embarrassed for him too at the same time.
I feel so bad.
But that's also an interesting contrast because just before that scene, he comes into school and he's like, hey guys, how's it going? Like he's putting on this extreme front and act to cover up what he's actually feeling, which is completely false, which then gets reversed when he's taking the students around to show how he's
he thinks
really
that he
feeling.
gave out the tapes it'll all be over. No
But
more
that's the thing.
hallucinations.
It's a front. It's
He's
he's trying to cope, but they don't know how.
he's kind of in a way putting on the same front as all the jocks
Everybody
are.
else,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It was a way to mock them.
Yeah.
To over exaggerate to show what they were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
It's quite funny actually how Justin and they've all
How-
reacted.
how-
It's
yeah,
like,
how
what
they're-
is going on?
But you know, Clay has a progression too, because you know, at the beginning he is more kind of almost nerdy, you know, and then as he progresses, he gets like really
Real
cool and
badass. He gets
suave.
stronger.
yeah.
Shout out to Clay when he was making out with Sherry and he
Yes.
did
And
the
the
leg
door.
kick. I was like, oh,
I was like, that
Clay, that was
was you playing right
smooth.
now.
I did the
Ooh.
same
Swag
thing.
we didn't know about.
I was
until
like, Clay
it's
got that swag. He's learning, you know.
For real.
Shout
He
out,
is.
maybe Jeff taught him that, you know. Jeff.
I love
Jeff.
Jeff. Oh my
Love
gosh, I
Jeff.
love Jeff.
Even though he made Clay change his sheets, I was like, it's okay, he had good intentions.
Jeff's a really, really great kid.
Yeah.
You want to talk about Tony, you said?
Yes, Tony, because we learned that he's gay in
Which
this episode.
I knew that from the dance, only because like the way him and Ryan were kind of
Right.
just like it's
You
just
could
like,
pick it up.
Oh,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
When
the
he
dance.
touches his collar.
Yeah, and God loved Tommy, but when he was here and he was like, and I had to do a chemistry read with Tony, but you'll understand why. And I was like,
Oh, because he couldn't give it away?
yes, and I was
Okay,
like,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
you just told him, Tommy. You know,
You
just-
understand
I
why?
didn't pick that up. So
You did?
I'm glad I didn't pick
I didn't
that up.
even pick that up either. I was
Oh,
great.
well,
I was not
never
paying-
mind.
No, I picked that up.
Okay.
Probably because I hadn't binged yet.
And
So we were both in the
See,
same
we were both
spot
on
where
the
we
same
didn't
side.
know.
Yeah.
I caved in after
that's-
like
Oh, you-
Well,
the,
then,
after
well,
like the
Tommy
first
was
Oh, you were going to
episode.
try to watch
I
it
was
in
gonna try,
progression.
and then I was like, I can't.
I'm the only
I have to
one.
finish
Got
this.
you. I was telling her when she gets to like episode 9,
Episode 9.
she's not going to be able to not binge
I'm surprised
it.
you've
Like,
lasted
For
this
real.
long. It's really impressive. It's good though.
Episode 7, the way he was like, "Welcome to Liberty High," I was like, "Shay, do not go to the." I was like, "I have to go menu, go back," because I know I was gonna go
But
straight
it's
to
good
8.
because you've
is
lasted this
good.
long. Episode 7. I think it's nice also when we get to predictions and stuff to get an honest prediction because
Exactly.
obviously we all know.
We know, yeah.
We know.
I would be like,
Yeah, we all know. What
Yeah.
it is.
I don't know what to say.
So since you read the book, I'm curious, do you know or do you have any ideas as to why you think they ended up choosing to make Tony gay?
I think that Tony is also an outcast at the school because a lot of times when people are watching the show, they don't even realize that he goes to school. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
they think like, well, what is he doing? You
Yep.
know? There's a lot of funny memes about that, but I think that he's also an outcast as well. And if you look at who he's with at the beginning of the show, he is with Tommy, you know, Tommy's character, Ryan. Because I want to make sure to separate these
Yes.
characters and the real people. He's with Ryan, and so you see that he's taking Clay under his wing. So he definitely has a sensitivity and an awareness
Right.
of people who are on the outsides and the not cool part of the school. And in high school, oftentimes, unfortunately, that tends to be gay kids. And I think that might be one of the reasons. Yeah, they would make more sense for him to be kind of a lone wolf and kind of do his own thing.
I really liked, I was not expecting it at all, and I don't really have an opinion on either I'm happy or not happy about it either way, but I like in general that Tony's character is a high school student who is openly gay and is also this like perceived of it as this tough like kind of slick guy because there are all of these fears for gay kids when they're in high school to coming out and being seen as a certain way and this expectation of what a gay person is supposed to look like, especially for a male, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I like that the show is showing that it can be in any body type, you know what I mean?
And I think that may be another reason that contributed to helping him be gay because he is the coolest.
Yeah.
He has the most masculine car. He, you know, dresses, he's got swag. He's who a high school kid may want to be, or when watching the show, he's the one you might want to be like, you know.
Completely.
One of the first scenes we see him with is him working on a car with his dad. You know what I mean? Things that people don't associate with gay guys, and so I love that he's gay because it totally disassembles what you think, because you have the Ryan Shavers at the school,
Exactly.
and you have the Tonys at the school,
Exactly.
and they're different. They're
Completely.
complex. They're nuanced. You know what I mean? And so, get rid of all those
Right.
preconceived notions and stereotypes.
Yeah.
Get it out of here. Yeah.
Tony has such a swag about
Yeah,
him
such a
that
swag.
is
I
like
like Tony.
That's
He-
like the best part for me when I realized Tony was gay. I was just like, I just love the fact that he's this cool Fonzie.
Yeah.
he is.
Happy days,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I love his entire character.
Yeah.
Agreed.
In the beginning of the season, I was saying I feel like Tony is such a creeper.
Why?
He
from
was.
the
He was
first
sketchy.
episode,
Just
he
for
was super
feeling.
sketchy.
I mean,
That
and
was
then
my
I see that
feeling.
too.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
it completely changed. I think we did our second show, and I was like, guys, I love Tony.
Yes.
He's so nice.
He's great.
Yeah. And they're still never mind. we
And
can't
actually,
talk about-
Christian's super cool in real life anyway.
Yeah.
So like, he's I want to be like Christian.
He's like Tony. Super
Yeah,
cool.
he's like Tony. So.
Can I just say something? This might
Yes.
have been only something I realized, but in that scene at the very end of the episode 7, where they zoom out after Clay has taken the exchange students around, Tony looks really short.
Yeah, I think so too.
I
I
didn't
really
notice that.
expected to be
Yeah,
that
like 'cause
short.
Tony's like kind of in front of Justin a little bit, but he's like
Yeah,
definitely
so
shorter.
go back and watch that. You'll be like, oh wow, that's
He's
a little
a
bit
tiny
funny.
dude.
Interesting.
That's all right though, because he's got
Exactly.
his
It's
swag and his personality 6'5", you know.
That's
For
true.
real.
It's all right.
Anybody else notice Clay's room? Like when you close the door, and like it's like an actual drawing of different cassettes with like different streamers coming out of the cassettes, and like like building block Tetris almost.
Oh,
Like I found that so interesting. I'm like, he actually has a cassette, like artwork in the on back of his door.
Oh, I haven't seen
I
that.
haven't
so
noticed that.
I didn't
cool.
notice
It's so cool that you notice that.
Yeah, I
didn't
These
notice
little
that.
details.
I
you
love
know?
little details. Like
Yeah.
for me, that was the best part.
Because there's a lot of stuff that, if you go, that's what I'm
Adds
saying.
up.
If you watch it again, you'll notice little cool things like that, you know?
Because
I
you're
like
looking
that.
for certain things the first time you watch a show, and then the second time you watch a show, you're like, I'm just going to watch it for fun, and then you end up noticing different things.
Yeah.
Right.
Before we start wrapping up and getting predictions,
a few
it's like
questions.
they know when I'm about to do it. They're like, Hannah's panicking because she needs to wrap up, and they put up a thing that's like, wrap up. I got it, guys. I just want to know what's like coming up next for you.
Yeah, we have a lot of
Any
questions.
Yeah, I got a lot of
looking-
questions.
Oh, do we? Is there like a lot coming through? Oh God.
Yeah.
Just tell us
Wow.
everything. What's happening for you since the show?
So for me, since the show, I am overwhelmed because the reaction has been completely unexpected. I thought that it would slowly progress because a lot of Netflix shows 4 or 5 months after they debut, they really start to pick up momentum. Whereas we came out of the gate, boom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
So it's been that way in terms of public reception, but also industry reception has been that way as well. So right now I'm really trying to
Amazing.
be selective, but
Yes, buddy.
also find something that really suits what I want to do and where I want to go.
Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Was this one of your like big first projects?
it was.
Nice.
That's awesome. This is
Yeah.
yes. Then
Yeah, so shout out to Selena, shout out to Brian York. Thank you.
So
get that
I
good
like
red
Renji.
button and
Yes.
just go for it.
Right.
Yes.
Read the comment.
Okay, what are the
Wait.
questions?
Okay, so two. Renji says, without spoiling anything, what episode will have the biggest shock? And James Bryan says, were the fellow castmates broken down during or after a scene that they have done?
What? Okay, so the first question is
Without giving spoilers, what's the biggest
without
shock?
the biggest shock. Ooh,
Maybe episode 9, because you mentioned that was a good one.
I would say Clay's tape. To me, that's the one that
Yeah.
I found a lot of shock in.
I think that's
Um,
episode
11.
11 or 10.
11, something around
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So that would, to me, that's the one that I would say look forward to. And then breakdowns after filming a scene. I know that
like before, like during or after, yeah.
before, during, or after. I wasn't on set for it, but there's a scene between Bryce and Jessica that was very difficult to film that I had heard was really tough. But no, I don't recall anyone necessarily breaking down. My scene with Hannah was really tough for both of us because I love Catherine and she's the sweetest, nicest girl. And I just felt gross touching upon her like that. Yeah. So like,
You're like, ugh.
I literally, after we would finish every take, I would turn to her like, "Are you good? Are you good? Was that too much? I was that too much? I don't want to, And she'd be like, "Steven, just it's fine.
We're
Just-
acting.
Yeah, she'd be like, "Yeah, you're
Character
good."
mode.
I was like, "Ah." But the deeper we got into it, she definitely was affected by that too. So
Yeah.
that was kind of a tough scene to film.
I just have one last question. It's super
Yes.
quick. You are a cupcake connoisseur, you say on your Instagram.
Aha!
So where do we find the best cupcakes in LA?
Oh.
Let me tell
my
you.
kitchen.
We
my
got-
kitchen.
I mean,
That's important.
I
need to know
love.
this.
I got a bunch of them. Susie Cakes is good.
Okay,
Y'all know
yes.
Susie Cakes?
Yes,
Yeah.
I've actually been there.
Cakes is good. Georgetown is good. You all know
I've never
Georgetown?
heard of
I've never heard of it.
Georgetown cupcakes. If you're ever in Miami, LA Sweets is delicious.
Ooh,
Um,
is Georgetown here?
Georgetown is here.
Okay,
It's-
guys,
I think it started on the
check it
East
out.
Coast as well.
Oh.
But it's also here. Yeah, I'm always, if you can find me at like a
Damn it,
bakery.
you bake every
Dig it.
time, and this is
When
the first
when
time.
he told me he likes cupcakes, I legit could have just baked cupcakes.
I only found
Yeah,
out today that he likes cupcakes.
I would have never left.
All right, well, that's all that we have for
Yes.
today, you guys.
Oh, man.
Stephen, thank
Thank
you
you
so
so much.
much.
I don't want to leave. I'm
You're
gonna like lay
amazing.
down.
I know.
You come back every week.
We can talk to you
You can
forever.
come
This
join
is
us. Be a
great.
host.
Oh my
Real
god, this
quick,
was.
Where
great.
can everybody find you again?
Find me on Instagram at SilverSteven.
Lovely. Y'all?
Yeah.
You can find me at Chanel Hurlin on all social media.
You can find me at Real Chae Jones on Twitter and Instagram, and Love Shea Butter on Snapchat.
Y'all can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Becca B Talks TV and rate on iTunes to get a chance to win this book.
Yeah, he signed it. Good.
Yep.
And you all can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at @TheHotShotDude. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you next week.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.